God, guys, I am finally home. Oh, I am so tired. Okay, so here's a little story time. So this morning I woke up at like 2:30 in the morning, could not go back to bed. Mind you, I went to bed at like midnight, 12:30 maybe. So I literally got 2 hours of sleep. And from 2:30 to 3:30, I'm like, what am I going to do? Literally, what am I going to do? So I started gathering my stuff and slowly like get my ass out of bed. And we get to the airport. There's a snowstorm happening tonight in Connecticut, right? So everyone is like leaving. Oh my God. Okay, so I fly out of somebody's car tires just screeched. So I leave out of BDO, which is like one of the main airports in Connecticut. And I kid you not, the line for TSA, there's two different like checkpoints that you can do. There's the West Wing and the East Wing. And my flight was on the West Wing, so I was like, okay, let me just do that, you know? So I'm like waiting in line to get my checked luggage in. Mind you, I'm like an hour to almost an hour and a half early for my flight. My flight leaves at 6 and I'm there at like 4, maybe like 4:15 actually. Regardless, plenty of time you would think, right? So literally, it's a long line for baggage and I'm like, great, this is no indicator of what it's gonna be like, is it? So I was like, okay, no worries. Like, remember when you flew on Christmas Eve and you thought that was a long line and like it only ended up taking 30 minutes? Thank you, San Antonio Airport, for like moving TSA so quickly, because literally Christmas Eve, I was so concerned because the line went to like the front door of the airport and I was like, oh God. And it only took me like 30, maybe 45 minutes max to get through security. I was like, this line went so quick. But anyway, that's San Antonio. Hartford, whew, guys. Okay, so literally, I didn't realize that the West Wing only had one lane open. And by the time I found that out, it literally, like, I was already like in the ropes section area. But if anyone's ever flown out of there, like we were like a good couple 100 feet past those ropes. Literally, I kid you not, somebody went to go look at how long the line was and he was like, oh hell nah. And everyone started laughing because it went almost to the hotel lobby. The hotel lobby for the airport. What? Line was so long, it took me over an hour. It had to have been like hour and a half, because I think let's go with an hour, because we started boarding around 5:30 and I was in line before 4:30. So let's just say like an hour and 10. I was like, you've got to be kidding me. Just for TSA. And it's because they had one line open, and the East Wing apparently wasn't any better, but I think they had more than one lane open, but like that line was so much longer, but nobody knew that it was moving quicker. So whatever, I finally get there, and it felt so bad for me because the couple in front of me, like my flight was at 6, so I literally got to my gate like 2 minutes before people started boarding. The people in front of me were literally like a half hour before, like their flight was like 5:25, and I'm like, literally they had like a minute before like they should close the gates technically. So I see them sprinting. I hope they made it to wherever they were going. I think they said Myrtle Beach, so I doubt they'll ever watch this, but I hope they made it because I felt so bad. I was like, well, if I'm not mistaken, usually anyone that's checked in for the flight, they like wait for, but they don't wait too long. But like, they have got to know that like the flight was like backed up, right? Okay, so that was the first thing. Second thing, yo, this pissed me off. Okay, so 2 things. very important aspects. So one, I'm a type 1 diabetic and I have insulin in my carry-on. And mind you, I had an unopened bottle, like a bottle that I brought with me and put in my mom's refrigerator just in case I ran low or ran out on my current one. That's what you should do as a prepared type 1 diabetic, right? So I'm like, this insulin needs to go ASAP into a refrigerator as soon as I land and get home, which I already did. So that's one thing. Second thing, I was staying on the same plane the whole time. So I went from Hartford to Dulles, or DC, right? And then DC to San Antonio. And I realized, like, the day before, I was like, oh my God, that's so funny. Like, I'm literally going to be on the same plane, because when I checked the second flight to make sure it wasn't leaving early or delayed or anything, it said, you know, on time. And I was like, oh, let me just check where it's coming from. It said coming from Hartford. And I'm like, I'm going to be on the same plane. Are you kidding me? I was like, let's go, because I was so nervous, because I was like, okay, hopefully, like, I'm always like skeptical about connecting flights, especially if they're under an hour, and I had a 57-minute window. So I was like, oh my God, what if I have to like go to like like another like terminal? Thankfully, Dulles is really small, and I haven't had to do that yet. I don't know if anyone ever has, but I heard it takes maybe up to like a half hour or so. But thankfully it was the same gate, and I was like, wait, same gate, and it's like literally the same flight. Like, it literally, like, I could have stayed on the flight. I mean, I know they have to clean and you have to check in with your boarding group. Like, I get it. But I was literally like, I could have stayed on the plane. Especially because I may or may not have been in first class on the way back and on the way there. So I treated myself in November, because I was like, you know what? I want first class. I was like, I need to set myself up for the life that I want. And I need to encourage myself to want to make money and strive and do well so that I can ride first class. Because let's face it, economy, ugh. The upgraded economy with like the leg room, you know, a little bit extra, not too shabby. But first class, let me tell you. Okay, let's wait on that. We'll get to that, because let me go in order, in chronological order. So I literally get to my flight 2 minutes before boarding. Like, I get to my gate, and I was like, fuck yes. Like, I made it. Like, TSA like has got nothing on me. Like, I came an hour and a half early for a reason, and it was awesome, right? So then the United Airlines agent literally goes, we are overbooked by 2 passengers. We're looking for 2 passengers to volunteer leaving. No, because first of all, I booked this flight in September. It is January. Second, I originally booked it for the 7th, and when I booked that flight, it changed it to the 6th, because I used Hopper. So they changed the flight on me, and it like gave me an email and everything, but I originally booked it for the 7th. And I was like, you know what? I like coming back on the 6th, because then I come back on a Saturday, you know, 11 a.m. Like, it's perfect. I got plenty of time to like do what I need to do for the weekend. So I was happy about it, right? And they were looking for volunteers because there's a freaking snowstorm coming. And there's going to be like, I don't know, I think one area was 1 to 3 inches, but like it was like up to like 14 or 16 inches. I could be wrong, but at least a foot of snow. And I'm like, are you kidding me? All the flights are going to be delayed. I am not trying to like lose my seat, because again, diabetic, has insulin in hand. If I didn't have that insulin, I would almost consider it. But another thing is, I have an interview on Monday morning. So if that snowstorm prevented me from not getting home like today or tomorrow, I would have missed my interview Monday. So that was also another thing. I was like running through my head. I'm like, what if I can't get home? Like, I'm not risking that. So they're looking for volunteers. Nobody is volunteering. They literally were like $1,200 voucher to whoever like volunteers. I'm like, this is a fucking scare tactic. They literally stopped boarding. Stopped boarding the flight. I was like, are you kidding me? I need to get home. I've got insulin on me. Like, you're delaying the flight. Granted, I didn't really care too much about like missing the next plane. Obviously, it was the same plane, but I was still like, what is the holdup for? Like, nobody's volunteering. And I was like, I text my girlfriend, I'm like, they're offering a $1,200 voucher. And she goes, take it. I'm like, girl, I have insulin. Like, if I'm stuck, like, 12 more hours, that's 12 more hours that my insulin is not in the fridge. Granted, I know some people might be like, that's not a big deal. But when it's out of the fridge, it like slowly loses its potency. And like, as someone who currently does not have a job, starts like January 31st and doesn't know when she's getting health insurance, like, insulin's expensive without insurance. So like, I need to figure out if I can afford my insulin, and I don't want to risk my current insulin going bad. So I'm like, what do I do? I'm like, nobody's volunteering, right? So I'm like, you know what? No, it's not on me to volunteer. Like, granted, that $1,200 voucher would have been nice because I would like literally have all the flight money, but I'm also starting a new job, so it doesn't make sense for me because what am I going to use it on? I have no time off. So I was like, you know what? No, it doesn't make sense for me to do it. And they need 2 volunteers. I'm 1 person. So like, even if I volunteered, like, somebody else would need to. So literally, like, probably like 5 to 10 minutes, not even, before we're supposed to take off, they're still like stopped. Somebody finally volunteers. She probably wagered 1,500. I hope she did. Bless her heart. She ends up going to Chicago. I don't know what her final destination was, but she was like, there's a 6 a.m. flight going to Chicago. Like, you guys can like make it now if you like somebody volunteer. And I was like, damn, I really should do it. I'm like, maybe, but then what if there's no flight from Chicago to San Antonio, or worse, I end up using my voucher to like freaking go on 2 other flights and I don't get home until like midnight. So I'm like, you know what? No, it's not on me. Like, somebody else is gonna volunteer. Like, I shouldn't have to be the one to do it, even though I wanted to. There were so many signs pointing to like, Marissa, just don't do it. So I was like, okay, you know what? Don't do it. Somebody else is going to volunteer. Literally, like, not even a couple minutes later, somebody else volunteers. So I was like, okay, thank God. So they resumed, but the part that pissed me off, granted, I don't know if it was like a weight thing or what, because my suitcase was 49.5 pounds. Like, I was packed to the brim, and I felt bad. But I also had 2 luggages, technically. So they might have taken that into account, or maybe they finalized it after. I don't know how they work it out. But why was it that they were looking for 2 volunteers, but there were 2 seats open? One was right next to me, an open seat. They said it was a full flight and they overbooked by 2 people. United. I don't get this. Somebody tell me. Like, is it a weight thing? Because that would make sense. Like, an overall weight thing. But like, even then, is 100, 200 pounds gonna make a difference? I mean, probably, it's a plane. But like, I was like, no fucking way. The guy next to me, we had a seat in the middle, thankfully. So like, him and I were just vibing, right? Older man, probably like my dad's age. Because he said he had a daughter going to California. So I was like, okay, slay. Like, you're probably my dad's age. But he was like, I thought this was a full flight. And I was like, I thought it was too. Like, they closed the doors. So I was like, I'm putting my purse over there and my backpack underneath so I don't have to use the overhead, because there was no overhead storage like available in front of me. So I was like, 2 rows back, I literally grabbed that. As soon as the doors closed, I grabbed my stuff and I was like, nah. As long as it's under the seat and I have a clear pathway, like, if I'm using nobody's seat for my, you know, extra, my carry-on and my personal item, like, that's nobody's business. Guy next to me didn't care, like, nobody cared. Like, it didn't matter. So I was like, I'll use it. But I was like, yeah, I counted exactly 2 seats. I was like, so either, like, I don't know. I was like, it has to be a weight thing because there were 2 open seats. It was not overbooked. Either that or there were people on TSA that were like stuck. You know what I mean? And like didn't make the flight. Like I have no idea why there were 2 open seats. Was it the 2 people that volunteered? Because if so, that's fucked. But if not, if it's like 2 other people just like checked in, but like you snooze, you lose, like they didn't make it. I have no idea what happened. No idea. I'm gonna assume because the TSA line was so long that the other people missed their flight, but it's just like, damn, these 2 people could have gotten on that flight and like went wherever they needed to go. But honestly, I would say that if circumstances were different, I would have taken the voucher. I wouldn't have cared. Like, it's a Saturday, I can get home Sunday, but the problem is the snowstorm makes everything tricky. The fact that I had insulin that needed to be refrigerated as soon as possible, I'm not doing it. That's an automatic no. But another thing that was important to me was I had an interview Monday morning. Monday morning. So if I couldn't have flown out back home Saturday and then the storm Sunday affected everything, like if I couldn't have gotten home by, first of all, if I couldn't get home Saturday, I wasn't going to do it. Because Sunday I would have been stuck there and I would have had to fly out either Sunday or Monday and I wouldn't have gotten home in time to unpack, relax, not even relax, but unpack and like find my clothes for my interview, which is at my girlfriend's house, by the way. Like the top I want to wear is at my girlfriend's house and then the bottoms are in my suitcase. So I'm like, it wasn't on me to volunteer, but if circumstances were different, I would volunteer and I would bargain the hell out of it. I'd be like, 1,200, no, you're going to give me 1,500 because you are desperately looking for volunteers. I literally hope that that girl that got on the Chicago flight did that because she was like a saving grace. Like everybody clapped. But I was like, there's all these people that are like, I would do it if they said 1,500. Go bargain. Go bargain. Because literally the app was like, place your bid. Place your bid. Like to get a voucher and like, you know, give up your flight. And like you can place your bid. You could be like, you're paying for my new flight and giving me the voucher, and if I need accommodations, you're paying back for that too. Like, wager. But that's what I would have done. But like I said, the most important thing was that I got home and got my insulin in the fridge. If I didn't have that extra insulin, I'm not kidding you, I would have been like, fuck it. If I can make it home tonight, I don't care. If I make it home at like midnight and I have like a 7-hour layover, I don't give a fuck. But obviously I do because this storm literally came from, I don't even know where, but it came through Austin because it was a rainstorm. So it literally went up and like even our flight had to like make a weird like kind of like thing to Dulles and then a weird thing around San Antonio to miss the storm. So I'm like, whatever the case may be, y'all, like there was no avoiding that storm that's gonna hit. But I was just like, you know what? I am so lucky that Hopper made my flight on the 6th in September because I would have had so much trouble leaving at 6 a.m. Sunday morning. I guarantee you, tomorrow morning, flights are going to be delayed or canceled, and I'm probably going to ask my mom too. I'm going to be like, is that flight delayed? Because I just want to know, because I was supposed to be on that flight. But then Hopper, just something in the universe said, we're giving her Saturday instead of Sunday. Yeah. Anyway, let's get on to the seats. So I was either in like the premier, like right behind first class, or in first class. So on the way to Connecticut, I rode first class I rode premier for the long flight and then first class for the second flight. It was only like an $80 or $90 upgrade. So I did that in November. I was like, let me upgrade because I have some extra cash and I'm working. Little did I know I was gonna not have a job in the next month. Um, so I was like, whatever. So I was like, let me upgrade. So I did, and I was like, this is an amazing experience. I was like, I truly, like, this is how I'm ending my 2023. Like, I'm going to see my mom, I'm riding first class. Like, this is the life that I want to set myself up for. I was like, yes, right? Okay. So then, after I got my Christmas money, I was looking at it, and I was like, I can afford first class for that longer flight. So I did it. I did it. And I'm going to be able to pay all my bills. So I'm still being responsible, but I'm setting myself up 2024 because I already had the Premier, so the upgrade for first class wasn't as much. So I was like, you know what? Click, add to cart. So the first flight to Dulles, I was in like 8A, which is like literally not the first row after first class, the second row. And I was like, okay, I have an aisle seat. I ended up going to the bathroom on the flight because I was like, after they delayed our flight for like 16 minutes because they stopped boarding because of this fiasco of too many passengers, I was like, I'm gonna have no time when I like get off the flight. Little did I know that like I obviously knew it was gonna be the same gate, but little did I know the bathrooms were right across the hall, so I would have had time. But it's fine. So literally, I was not even standing for 10 minutes before boarding. Like they literally just had to clean the seats or whatever sanitizing that they do on that flight. So as soon as that happened, pre-boarding started and then boarding started, and I was like, fuck yes, I love this. So I get in and I'm sitting in first class. I'm on 3A and I'm like, this is amazing. Dude, literally, I don't know his name, but whoever he was, whoever served first class from Dulles to San Antonio, I love him. I love him. He was so nice, so cute, so respectful, literally so, like, perfect employee, first of all. So United, perfect employee. What flight was this? Okay, this is January 6th, and the flight was 2671. Anyway, the guy next to me caught his name. He probably like put in like a glowing review, as he should. I had my headphones in because my ears always pop and I hate it. So I didn't hear the dude's name, but he was amazing. I end up getting a coffee, which I have motion sickness, and caffeine you should stay away from. Also, if you have motion sickness, fly next to the window. Apparently that's better. And I literally usually get the window seat because I want to sleep. I did not sleep on this flight. I was so motion sickness. The turbulence got me so messed up because obviously the storm, right? And like it was expected, but I was like, I'm starving, I'm nauseous, I have motion sickness, my sugar's dropping, I'm sweating and shaking, which I'm literally changing after this because I feel so disgusting. But I was not having a fun time. I literally thought I was gonna puke. And then they served breakfast. Guys, first class is so amazing. I literally need to set myself up for more first class flights. Like, if they're over like a certain amount, because a first class flight, if it's like an hour, not worth it. 3 to 4 hours, worth it. Worth it, especially if they serve a meal, like it's mealtime. I ended up getting like a yogurt bowl. It came with the yogurt bowl, another yogurt, fruit, and a croissant. What? I was so amazed. Mind you, this is like the first trip I've ever rode first class. So I'm like shook. And then they come with like a strawberry jam for the croissant, butter for the croissant, a little salt and pepper packet, which, pro tip, my girlfriend told me this, um, salt. Salty foods and like salt water, like anything salty, apparently helps with nausea. I don't know if it contradicts on the interwebs or if it's like too much salt, but either way. So I was feeling nauseous. So I keep the salt packet because mind you, I have yogurt. Like I have nothing to put salt with, and I'm like, sir, like if you wouldn't mind, like could I get a glass of water? Like I'm literally like the nicest person to this dude because like first of all, you should be nice to the people serving you because like it's yes, it's their job, but like I hate people who are mean to the people that serve them. Which no one was mean, but just like that's my thought process. Anyway, so he brings me back the water. I kept the salt packet from my tray and I dumped the salt into the water. I stirred around. And I kid you not, eating definitely helped. I think I was hungry because I had eaten at 3:30 and it's now like 9, maybe 8:30 even. So like 5 hours without eating because the first flight I thought they were going to hand out snacks. So my snacks were up in an overhead. No, they weren't. They were below me, but I didn't like. I thought they were going to serve snacks. So I was like, I'm not gonna worry about it because they served snacks on the other flight when I came. So that was my thought process. Whatever. Um, so I was like, I didn't eat, and then like I got off the plane, got back on the plane, and I was like, I'm not eating now because I'm gonna have food. It wasn't until we got up and the turbulence started that I realized like I'm hungry and it's affecting me. So like the turbulence was just really fucking me up. After I ate, I felt a little bit better. I started with that croissant because I was like, yep, that bread is gonna soak up whatever's going on. So I eat that with some jam. I'm feeling a little bit better. By the time I get that salt and salt water, I kid you not, I'm feeling like a little bit better, but then it starts to worsen again. Because I just ate. Mind you, I ate dairy too. I think dairy isn't good for you, or maybe it was the caffeine from the coffee, because I did have coffee, obviously. Not a wise choice, but a wise choice for the day, not for the motion, because I'm not napping. I'm not sleeping. I'll probably just go to bed early tonight, like, or like sleep in tomorrow. Like, I'm not going to bed. I'm living off of 2 hours of sleep, and I get it. It's fine. But I literally put that salt in that salt water, mix it around, and I slowly just start taking sips. By the time I get to the bottom, the salt had kind of settled because I didn't have like a stir, so I was like kind of like mixing around the cup on this plane. Weird. By the time it gets to the bottom, it's like all salt water, and I'm like, ugh. So I grab my water bottle. I have a little bit left, literally like this much left, and I'm like, okay, I'm just gonna like put more water in it, stir it around. I drink the rest, and I feel so much better. Thank you to my girlfriend for telling me about salt. Like, ugh. So, yeah, that helped me a lot. We end up landing. Mind you, this is the first time this has ever happened. I had my earphones in, like my AirPods, and before when we were like descending, my ears, like there was just so much pressure. I don't know how, but there was so much pressure. My ears were starting to hurt. I was like, it feels like they're like getting ripped out and are gonna bleed. Not to be dramatic, but I'm being dramatic. So I'm still dealing with that, to be honest with you. But that was pretty much my experience. And it's wild because I have to empty all of this. Mind you, I don't know if I told y'all, I probably did. My suitcase was 49.5 pounds. I was zero point 0.5 away. I packed like a pro and I didn't even know it. Anyway, I have to unpack all of this, put it all away, then I have to figure out which clothes I want to bring over to my girlfriend's house and which clothes I want to bring on the trip to New Orleans because we're leaving to New Orleans. I'm like, bruh, I'm literally going to New Orleans, and then the week after I'm going to freaking like Vegas. I'm like, oh my god, I'm at it with these trips, but it's totally fine. I've got the suitcase I want to use for New Orleans right here, and then Vegas. Actually, I might use a smaller suitcase for New Orleans. I'm not sure yet because I think I'm gonna bring one suitcase packed for New Orleans, like have it all packed, have it all done and ready, and then whatever else I need to bring over to my girlfriend's house, I'll bring over separately in like a bag because I'm gonna be staying at her place. I'm not gonna keep coming back and forth here if I don't have to. So I gotta unpack all of this, repack, and then I'll probably come here in between. Like maybe I'll have her drop me off like, I don't know, Thursday night into Friday and just like stay here for a day and kind of like do the whole process over again. Either that or I'll use the same clothes, but I haven't decided yet. The thing about New Orleans versus Vegas is New Orleans we're driving, Vegas we're flying. And not only are we flying, we're flying together, so we have like one checked bag for the two of us. So packing is gonna look a little bit different. But if I wear the same clothes, it shouldn't be a big deal, but I don't want to wear the same clothes. So maybe I'll consider packing for both trips and then pack New Orleans in the suitcase and then pack Vegas in the bag to bring to her house. Anyway, I have talked y'all's ears off for half an hour. I am going to finish my day unpacking and repacking, which will be in a different video, probably next week's video. And then I'm going to try to record a podcast today. I want to finish reading my book, but I might save that for tomorrow. I also have to record my reaction when I go visit Sadie. When I get to my girlfriend's house, her dog Sadie is waiting for me. I'm so excited. She loves me and I love her. Yeah, so I have to do that. And then I have to edit this vlog and the next vlog because the next vlog is going to be like pack and prep. So I have to edit this vlog, which is going to be like my trip home vlog, and then my pack and prep vlog. So I'll have two vlogs. I'll finish out January with those vlogs. The only thing is if any of y'all have watched my other two vlogs, the road trip to Texas from Connecticut and the apartment tour, I am so sorry. I've tried my absolute best. I'm trying to figure out the best quality audio and video, and I'm having a terrible time. Terrible. Anyway, I think that is all for now. I'm going to go change because I feel gross. And then, yeah, I will talk to you guys next time. Love you.